Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us here again for what promises to be an interesting and insightful conversation with the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh and, of course, leaders from different sectors and different parts of the world on what Andhra Pradesh can do to leverage its potential to emerge as a sustainable development hub. Very ambitious growth targets have been set by the Chief Minister in what they want to achieve. But to talk more about that, Mr. Naidu, let me start by asking you the focus on sustainable development, this focus on green energy, the focus on developing Andhra Pradesh as an export hub. What will you focus on? What will you prioritize? And more importantly, what is the ask of industry?
2025 World Economic Forum is centering around green energy, green hydrogen, and also logistics and deep technology in all walks of life. These are all the issues now. Regarding to Andhra Pradesh, ocean economy is the biggest advantage for us. Starting from tourism and sea cargo, and also now we are focusing more on petrochemical complexes. We need more and more ports and also green hydrogen. Now for exports, we need a port. This is where we are having advantage of 1,000 kilometers. We wanted to leverage ocean economy. Green energy, we are planning nearly 10 lakh crores investment immediately. 2 projects already started. Both 2 projects are port-based exports, either Kakinada Port or Visakhapatnam Port. And also there is unexploited resources in the sea. That also we have to work in that direction. We are studying with all our friends, their ideas, everything. Ultimately, that is the biggest exercise I want to do. If you can see here, employment opportunities in blue economy, nearly 40 million jobs. The ocean food sector employment, nearly 237 million people globally. And also maritime, coastal and maritime ecosystem contribute nearly 11.5 billion US dollars. Maritime transport, 80 to 90% is only based on that. From India to anywhere, global transportation, everything. This is sustainable economy also, even rural poor, even seafood, fishing, all these things for especially fishermen community. That is the main livelihood. So even India's blue economy contributes 4% to the GDP.
Yeah.
In this, as on today, we are using 95% of money, GDP is coming only for transport sea cargo. There is so much of unexplored wealth in the sea, ocean economy, that we have to use it. In Government of India has introduced some programs, this Sagarmala, and also Amrit Kal Vision 2047. If you can use all these things, then we'll have a better advantage. Even we are watching our third largest coastline, Andhra Pradesh in India. 6 operational ports, 4 greenfields ports are available. That also we are working now. Another 1 year time, they will come operationalized. Cargo handling capacity as on today, 321 TPA. Another 1 year or 2 years, it will go 431. This is the area where huge opportunities are available for us. Even shipbuilding activity is a big activity. In India, we are doing extremely well other areas. Even shipbuilding is not proper in India. So that is also in economy, Indian economy is related maritime policy. We have given excellent policy. We are working in that direction.
Nico, I'll start by asking you, as the head of business development at the Authority of Rotterdam Ports, with the focus on sustainability as well, what would you say are the enablers that one needs to focus on in your experience that perhaps the state of Andhra Pradesh can learn from as well?
Well, first of all, let me thank you for having me on this panel. So I really appreciate the hospitality. So thank you very much. Maybe to elaborate a bit on your question is as a key point, ports are always nodes in a network. It's not just a port; they are connected with the hinterland, with exports and so on. And if I then first maybe elaborate a bit on the position of Rotterdam. Today, Rotterdam is such a node. It's a hub for Europe. And I won't go into all kinds of details and numbers, but one is, I think, important, that, for instance, 1/3 of all energy that's used in Germany passes through Rotterdam. 1/3. And now, if it comes to how do you address the challenges that we have around, well, climate change, sustainable development, in the future, we would like to remain as important as we are today for Northwestern Europe. And the difficulty with ports is that all kinds of investments really take a long time. It's infrastructure investment with an horizon of 20, 30 years. So what we did is really focus on what we want to be in the future. And we then decided that we want to be the port that delivers your goods in a clean way, that we produce it in a clean way, and that we produce clean goods. So those three elements are key of our strategy, and we translated that into an approach where we focus on infrastructure development for today and to raise efficiency today, the building of an energy system that is green, and the building of a industry that's sustainable and focus on sustainable transport. And in all elements, we have now over 70 projects running. And one of the key elements, I think, is, and maybe that also relates to your development, is that it's nearly always public-private partnership. Because public enterprises or private enterprises, they have different ways in how to address and mitigate risks. And that's key for these kinds of developments.
That's very helpful, Nico. Thank you very much. And I think that those are some of the issues that the Chief Minister alluded to as well when they talk about building out the port system. Of course, the linkages that you spoke of, but also ensuring that it is sustainably done in the form of green energy and so on and so forth as well. Tushar, let me address the same question to you. In your experience of doing ports elsewhere, what do you believe the focus areas need to be?
Yeah, so we're a UAE diversified group into upstream oil and gas, ports and logistics, power EPC, and also invest in private equity and venture capital. We've been operating ports for the last 50 years. We built the first container terminal in the Middle East. So our port subsidiary, Gulf Dana, operates across the Middle East in the UAE, in Saudi Arabia, in Iraq, and also the US. We manage around over 6 million TEUs and have a logistics subsidiary that provides end-to-end logistics services, including logistics cities, ICDs, inland container depots, and the whole solution. I think if you take a step back from our perspective, what's exciting is the growing bilateral trade between India and the region. With the signing of the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Alliance, CEPA, in 2022, bilateral trade has grown exponentially. There was a target of 100 billion in 5 years, and that's expected to be exceeded well before time. I think Andhra Pradesh in particular provides a great opportunity because, of course, the strategic location, of course, your leadership and the vision and initiatives like the blue economy. If you look at it, the West Coast, if you look, handles about 72% of container traffic in India. The East Coast only 28%. So that itself presents a huge opportunity because the population, in contrast, the population split is 50-50. So the East Coast is less congested and presents a great opportunity. And we've been learning more about your plans on the port development side and be keen to explore.
Is it an opportunity that you're actively considering today?
Absolutely. I've spent time with Honorable Chief Minister's team and the Andhra Pradesh team, and we'd love to explore it further.
Well, Dipali, let me come to you. What can be done to leverage some of the aspects that we just spoke of to ensure that India and Andhra Pradesh today, since we're talking about that in specific, can position itself as an export hub?
When we talk about textiles and what we are talking about the global supply chains here and the blue economy, I think the important thing for Andhra Pradesh is that you have your cotton right next doors, and the DCH, which is the finest cotton that you grow, could be an opportunity, and the yield and the acreage of that could be something that we could really work on, sir. Because, when you talk about India being an agricultural country, but the yield is still far lower than anywhere else, that could be a great opportunity. The world has been talking about regenerative agriculture, whether it's corn, whether it is millets or cotton. I think that's where the soil gets protected, the acreage increases, and could be the new way forward for us. And educating the farmers could be a great opportunity, sir. The transparency of the supply chain is what we talk about in the global supply chain that we are working on in the terms of, the blockchain and the traceability from the farm till the final mile is a very important aspect. The important thing, again, is about, when you're talking about sustainability, you're talking about the carbon emissions, you're talking about the, how much water are you using in textiles, actually. For example, at Wellspun, we actually use 30 million liters of water, but not even a drop of fresh water is used, sir. We actually use the sewage of the villages. We pay them royalty and use it into our complete manufacturing. And that could be a very huge opportunity that we can really look at. That could be something. And of course, Sumant is here. I don't want to take that away. But I think green. So, like, for example, for Wellspun's mission that we have, by 2030, we will be water positive. We will be completely green by 2030. We'll be using 100% sustainable cotton, zero landfill. We'll be impacting around 1 million communities across. I think it's a great opportunity for whatever we can actually look at. Last but not the least, it's the people. So when I talked about the farmers, and I think when I talk about textiles, it is labor intensive. It is the second largest employer after agriculture in the country. We are talking about people, we are talking about our workforce, we are talking about the skilling centers in India. But I must tell you, sir, and you're talking about the ports here, there are certain skills that need to be acquired by a country, even in textiles, like fashion bedding. The culture of, working, I think our neighbors and even China would have that better. And if we can set that up in SEZs and have that talent come in, even a lot of technology can come in, I think we could learn from the best and really make Andhra Pradesh the hub of, the sourcing destination. I mean, when you're talking about the retailers here, I think the important thing that they struggle with, there's certain industries, sir, like the wrought iron, or the toy industry, they could itself become $2 billion in itself if we can really make it into a kind of a global supply chain, literally, sir.
Sumant, let's come to you now. And, one of the big focus areas, and we had this conversation early today as well with the Chief Minister, the focus on green energy. Hydrogen, of course, is a big bet that they're focusing on. And we were having a chat earlier today as well, where you seem very confident of India being able to deliver on its 500 gigawatt green power aspiration, renewable power aspiration as well. Specifically from an Andhra Pradesh point of view, what do you believe the focus needs to be? What should the enablers be?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having us here, sir. I think that, Andhra Pradesh is one of the very few states in India, maybe there are only 2 or 3, that have both very good wind resource as well as solar resource. And unlike a lot of the other states, it's very untapped in terms of exploiting its potential right now. I think, sir, in the last 5 years, there's not been even a single megawatt of renewable energy capacity that has been set up. And I think now you've come out with the new integrated clean energy policy, which shows a total difference in terms of the approach of the state government to basically make sure that this untapped potential is now exploited. And so for all of us, it's now a very big opportunity. The state already has very good interstate transmission networks, so that there is a lot of capacity that we can immediately start setting up. And we've just started work on one of our SECI bids. It's a hybrid bid, where we're putting up wind and solar also along with storage. So that project is just starting off right now. It's about a 1,000 megawatt project. And so like that, you'll start seeing a lot more projects start getting off the ground. And I will not be surprised if in the next 4 or 5 years, if India's aspiration is to do 50 gigawatts a year, that Andhra Pradesh should not be supplying at least 10 to 15 gigawatts out of that, so every year, simply because of I think the encouragement that is now being given, which is quite, sort of a night and day difference, and also the government's target. And so right now, in the last 2 years, SECI and all the central agencies have auctioned almost 130 gigawatts of capacity. All of this will get built out in the next 4 years. And I think this is really where an opportunity exists for Andhra to capture a lot of this new capacity that is being set up. So that's obviously the clean energy capacity. The opportunity, we all know about that. So to me, Andhra has to play a very critical role in meeting that 500 gigawatt target number for the country as a whole. Then, of course, we come to green hydrogen, where, sir, obviously the long coastline is a clear advantage. And there, whether we can, in fact, even develop more dedicated ports for the export of hydrogen and ammonia, particularly. I think that is something that we really need to explore. There are several states that are giving quite good packages, and I'm sure Andhra will also be looking at all of that to see how we can, how we can make Andhra competitive along that dimension as well. So I think that is another natural step to look at. But then there are other few areas. For example, manufacturing. There is, again, no reason for Andhra not to attract solar manufacturing capacities in great measure. And that is something, sir, that we would be looking at in the state. Again, because it can get easily exported out from Andhra as well using the port infrastructure. And then, of course, things like tidal energy and wave energy is something, frankly, that none of us have even thought about at this point. And I think pilots in those areas being done by Andhra, I think, would play to the innovativeness of the state government, and I think potentially can become an interesting source of new clean energy in the future.
Well, I think this is very, very insightful. Lots of very tangible ideas on the way forward coming in from the panel. Let me get your thoughts, Chief Minister, on what you've heard from each of our panelists this evening, starting with what we just heard there from Sumant in terms of packages, incentives, putting something together to try and attract more investment, more industry to come in across some of these sectors that we just spoke of.
Already, for the last 7 months, I have announced around 20 policies for each sector. Now, well-established policies, one of the best policies in the country itself. That is one. As Sumant, others has rightly mentioned, Andhra Pradesh is positioned very well on East Coast. Even our friend has rightly mentioned, unexplored and also unexploited. Gujarat, majority sea cargo they are doing. East Coast around 30-32%, that is what we are working. So huge opportunity, and also if you see all countries towards east only. That is the biggest advantage. Now green hydrogen is a game changer again. Downstream industries. With all these things, one is port-led economy, and also, as she rightly mentioned, one more thing, cotton. we are very keen to promote cotton and textile. Again, there is a problem of labor, skilled labor, and also people are thinking textile is not remunerative. That is another problem.
Because it's a low-margin business.
Low-margin business, high employment generation. That is some problem. That also we have to work it out. As you rightly mentioned, now India is well positioned. I discussed with all our people. Logistics is the major key player. Either port or inland logistics. This is also important. Rail or otherwise road, all cargo, how to work it out, container ports, even dry ports, how to make it more viable.
Yeah.
That is the biggest exercise we are doing now. I want to focus logistics cost is the biggest challenge compared to internationally.
Yeah, Nico, I want to come back to the point that you first made, which was encouraging a deeper public-private partnership. In your assessment and in your experience, what do you believe is the glue that brings the private and the public together?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to hear because if I hear what is happening on the energy system, then the energy system, which will be based on renewable power, will have a lot of intermittency. So you need a lot of investments in dealing with this intermittency, and that's where I think maybe at the start it will be more public, and then the market can take over. But in the start, the risks will be too high for private companies. But there they can meet, because if you, as government, can show what you're doing and what your long-term dedication is, you can mitigate the risks for the private companies to invest. So that will be one. I would like to add one other thing, and that is the advantage that you have now is that you can use from the start straight away all kinds of digital elements in your approach. We made some assessments together with some customers in the port that existing terminals that we have could raise their efficiency up to 40% by using AI without adding capex to the terminals. But if you're starting now and you're building your logistics as efficient as you can with the generation of AI, and we're looking at AI at the wall over there, but you can really take an advantage as state with that.
Well, more collaboration, more partnership, focus on innovation, sustainability, and of course growth. And for India to achieve the kind of growth aspiration that it set out for itself in 2047, it will need its states to deliver. And that is the hope that Andhra Pradesh has as well. Many, many thanks to my panel for joining us here today.